There are hundreds of formulas in Excel, and if you're working as an accountant, you really only need to know a handful of them. And I'm going to walk through three critical ones. If you're new here, my name is Eddie Gramajo. I'm a CPA. I've been in accounting for the last 11 years, and I use Excel on a day-to-day basis. And I'm here to teach you Excel, give you accounting tips. So if you do want those, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's dive in. The first formula that's critical to know as an accountant is going to be an XLOOKUP or a VLOOKUP formula. So I'm going to go through both. The XLOOKUP is a little bit more efficient than a VLOOKUP, so we're going to start there. The XLOOKUP, and the reason you want to know these is because you're doing a lot of reconciliations between systems. You're doing a lot of completeness and accuracy checks. This is something that happens in almost every Excel workbook or every process that you do as an accountant. And so you want to know what an XLOOKUP is to help you do this more effectively. What you want to make sure is that each system, so we're going to deal with system A and system B, each system has a unique ID that you can use in your XLOOKUP. So when you go to write this formula, you're going to write XLOOKUP. You can type it all out, or you can short form it by hitting tab on your keyboard. Then you're going to do a lookup, and account ID, I already know that that's going to be a unique ID in both systems. So that's going to be my lookup. It's what we're going to use to look up into system B. You're going to separate your formulas using comma. So each function, right, it gives you a helper down here. So you're going to separate the next function in this formula with a comma. So then you're going to go to this system B and say, I want to look up column A because that's where I want this formula to look for A2, which is that unique account ID in system A. Then the next item here in this formula is a return array. And what I want to return is the total. So this amount should equal what I have in system A. The next thing that is built into an XLOOKUP that's not an VLOOKUP is a if not found function. So typically this is an if error if you're building a VLOOKUP, but this one has one inherently. So for this, I typically write in check because it makes it easy to find if something didn't look up properly. And in my experience, in 11 years in accounting, I've never used anything but an exact match. So once I do that, I can double click this cell to drag this formula all the way down. And the way that we reconcile the two systems is I create a difference column that's going to tell me, okay, now I have the value from system A. I can differentiate that with the highlighted column. What is the difference between what system B has versus what system A has? So now I'm going to do a subtraction between column K, which is what I looked up in system B, to column I, which is what is in system A. So for this line, I know that there's no difference and that I can say, okay, this line is accurate between system A and system B. Then I'm going to, again, get this formula all the way down. What I like to do is have a sum formula down here. So write in equals sum, select the entire column, and then I'm going to have nothing to check because everything ties between system A and system B. If there was a difference that popped up here, I would have to go and investigate. And this is typically what takes a lot of time, is that a lot of systems in accounting do not tie to each other, but you need to make sure that they do tie. So that's why an XLOOKUP is important, so that you can get information from one system and compare it to another system. The next formula that I use a lot is a SUMIF formula. And a lot of the times it's some ad hoc request that says, hey, I need to know what revenue is by SKU. So this is a simple example of a SUMIF formula. So what we want to do here is type in SUMIF because I want to know what the monthly booked amount is. And in order to get that data, so in system A, there's a column that says SKU. Now, I can select this column, which is the range that I'm going to use to have some criteria so that I can filter out between monthly and annual. You can see that this has both annual and monthly data in here, so I don't want to just sum up the entire column. So then I write in the criteria, and the criteria is going to be monthly. So you can see column J has annual or monthly as the identifier between annual and monthly. It might be different in your report. For this one, what's good about the SUMIF function, you can write in a contains formula. So for example, if I just put monthly here and I said, I just want to look up monthly, and the sum range is going to be my total because that's the amount that's within system A, it's not going to return any values. And that's because if you look at this example, the SKU, there's other characters, not just monthly, within this cell. To get past that, you can write in a wildcard. So that's going to be this asterisk or the multiplication sign, and that'll say, I just want to know if it contains monthly. And when I do that, it returns the total monthly booked amount for me. And then what I can do is copy this formula down, and instead of monthly, I'm going to say annual. So this is going to be my split between monthly and annual. And SUMIF, you can do a SUMIF formula to write in more criteria, but a SUMIF formula is a good way to start your foundation for a more complicated SUMIF formula. And the next thing that I want to talk about is a concatenation formula used alongside an XLOOKUP formula. And so for this example, there are times where system B, this FX rate table, does not have a unique ID already inherent in one of the columns. And so I have to create that for myself, a helper column. And additionally, I have to create that same helper column in system A, which is this transactions raw report. In order to do that, I'm going to just create a column, and I'm going to call it helper column. And then the concatenation formula is great for this because typically there's a couple fields you can put together to create a unique ID for yourself so that you can run an XLOOKUP. So the concatenation is going to be on customer currency. And I like to format it a little bit with a hyphen in it. So once you put parentheses, this is going to say, okay, put a hyphen between this first text and then the third text. And the third text is going to be the begin date. So once I have that, I can drag this all the way down, and then I'm going to do the same in system B. So I'm going to create that same helper column so that there is a unique identifier between both columns. And it's going to be the same formula. It's going to be a concact formula, and it's going to be based on the country. I'm going to write the hyphen as well, and then the date. Going to drag this all the way down. Once that's done, now I can use my XLOOKUP, similar to what we wrote earlier. So I'm going to do the lookup value based on my helper column. Again, same for the system B. I'm going to use the helper column as well. And what I'm going to return is my rate, because that's what I need to convert my currencies into USD. If not found, I'm going to hit check. Match mode. Again, it's going to be exact match almost 99% of the time. Then I finally get my rate here. Then I drag this all the way down. And then finally, what I can do is convert this into USD. So then I'm going to take my column I, which is the amount in this table that somebody paid for a subscription, and then multiply it by the rate. And then now I have the conversion into USD. And the last thing I want to talk about is the difference between an XLOOKUP and a VLOOKUP. So like we mentioned before, and how we wrote our XLOOKUP, it was easy to tell it what return array or what column I wanted to return. When you're writing a VLOOKUP, there are key differences. So one, it's going to be the same in terms of I want to look up A2, which is similar to how the XLOOKUP starts. Now, I have to select the entire table. So this is different than an XLOOKUP. So with an XLOOKUP, there's only two things that I need to select instead of the entire table. One is going to be the lookup array, and then the other is going to be the return array, which are two columns. With the VLOOKUP, I have to select this entire table because a VLOOKUP looks up left to right. And so when I do a VLOOKUP, I select this entire table. So the next thing the VLOOKUP is going to ask is going to be what column, what number column do you want to look up? So the way that they number it is column A is going to be 1, B is going to be 2, C. So the first column in your table is going to be 1, and then it goes sequential after that. So I want to know what the total is. So that's column 6. And similarly, instead of a 0 here, we write false, and we get the same value here as we do in XLOOKUP. So they do the same thing, which is looking up data from one table to another table. One just does it a little bit more efficiently, which is an XLOOKUP, than a VLOOKUP. You should, as an accountant, get used to an XLOOKUP, but you also want to figure out how to use a VLOOKUP in case there's times where a VLOOKUP is just quicker to do. Let me know in the comments what formulas you also think are important for accountants to know for their day-to-day job. And if you do want to know more about Excel and you want to learn, I do have a course linked in the description of this video that is put on by Wall Street Oasis, which I think is a great course to take if you want to go from beginner to intermediate to expert. So that's linked down below. And if you have not, make sure to subscribe for more Excel tips. Leave a like, leave a share. I love y'all. Peace.